Now look, I know I'm not the first person to say Dave Rubin is one of the most embarrassing people alive, but after his latest humiliation over at Jubilee, I know I definitely won't be the last.
What is one main metric that Donald Trump has made better off since he got in office? So like an example would be GDP, unemployment, inflation, etc.
So let's do tariffs. Are you for or against tariffs?
Against the universal tariff. So what's the main metric that he made better off?
What?
What's the main metric that he made better off? GDP, unemployment, inflation? Do you have any idea?
Listen.
I don't think you do.
You're really putting the Rubin there. Dave Rubin has been a laughingstock for a while now. As someone who's sort of passively followed Dave's career for the past decade, I can't imagine why he would ever, under any circumstances, agree to get bodied in such a public setting. I mean, did he actually think he stood a chance? Dave Rubin would lose a debate to a plastic fern. He's one of the least persuasive men on the planet.
Well, first off, the disastrous war, the quote-unquote disastrous war that you're talking about a 40-day military operation that stopped an apocalyptic regime from getting a nuclear bomb. We did lose 13. We did lose 13 of our soldiers, and that is
killed over
terrible.
200 children.
But
it's just mind-boggling. Did the Russian money already dry up? You're just that desperate for some more clout? It's only been a week, and this thing's already cracked over 1 million views, and that's not even counting the dozens of clips that have gone viral across Twitter and TikTok. I'm getting to this a little late, so you've probably already seen some of it, but I'll never pass up an opportunity to trash Dave Rubin, so here we are. For anyone out there fortunate enough to not know who this guy is, Dave Rubin is a conservative commentator, a classical liberal, as he's exhaustively labeled himself since his days of working at the Young Turks. Granted, he was only there for about 3 years before ditching his liberal friends and evidently his liberal values with the decision to take his show, The Rubin Report, independent in 2016. Of course, there was nothing independent about The Rubin Report, considering it was propped up by money from the Koch brothers. You know, just some of the ultimate villains of the 20th and 21st centuries. No big deal. Such a classical liberal thing to be backed up by arch-conservative billionaire oligarchs, am I right? Despite the paper-thin liberal label, Dave has spent virtually his entire career tracking hard to the right.
Yeah, the memes are great. That's the thing. Look, I am not for white supremacy or neo-Nazism, but the alt-right as a shit-posting, fun, call out the bullshit, mock the power thing is amazing, actually.
Pandering to reactionaries who think he deserves fewer rights on account of his identity as a gay man.
Awkward question. Shapiro, will you bake Rubin a wedding cake? Okay, so, I mean, my answer is...
Well, I'm married already.
Right, he's married already.
But an anniversary, it was my anniversary last week. An anniversary cake would have been nice.
Right, so the answer is no. And the reason I won't is because as a religious Jew, I do not participate in activities that I believe are sinful.
Putting that aside, you can't have David's kosher cake now. If we were having an anniversary party, would you come? If I was inviting all the crew that we all know, and we were just an anniversary party, we're just having a party, and I'll even throw in some kosher food for you to make sure you don't have to bring your own food.
You know, honestly, I'd have to think about it. I'd have to think about it in the same way.
So that's interesting to me, because that's a different thing.
Well, not really.
But what you said that to me, and I truly mean this. Like, if you think what I'm doing is sinful, like I don't. It sounds glib, but I don't care. You know what I mean? Like, but why is it that we're able to do this? And most people can't do this.
Is this really who you want to surround yourself with, Dave? Guys who don't even have the decency to see you on their same level? Men who will think of you as less than just because of who you decide to love? Okay, you've made your bed, so now it's time to lay in it, I guess. It's not the left's fault that you can't stand up to your colleagues and defend yourself. Maybe that's another reason they find it hard to respect you.
With Dave, you know, there's enough moments where he's misstepped where they just feel like, okay, we got a wounded antelope.
Yeah. They're trying to pick him off.
Then again, if you can lose a debate to Joe Rogan, I think it's time to rethink certain elements of your worldview and character.
Do you want the government to tell you how to do all these things and all the regulations that you got to have your electric thing this far from this and like all
the regulations like that for construction are important though. You do have to make sure that people don't do stupid shit.
But
make sure you
generally,
don't have a power line that's near a water line. There's a lot of...
But I would put most of that on the builders, though. They want to build things that are good. Now, I get it.
That's not true. Listen, people
people are going to build
corners all the time. Like, you have to have regulations when it comes to construction methods, or people are going to get fucked.
They cut corners when there are regulations anyway.
They do. They would cut a lot more if there weren't regulations.
I'm not totally.
You see, that's the face of a man with rock-solid convictions and deeply held principles. A guy with a fleshed-out worldview who is certainly worth listening to. What's amazing about Dave Rubin is that he actually thinks he's good at this. So good, in fact, that he ditched his prior title of stand-up comedian to become a full-time political commentator. Or maybe he was so unfunny as a comedian that he had no choice but to make a career change. I don't know. I'll let you decide.
We have a tremendous show for you. We got gays, we got lesbians, we got straights, all gay people. Is everyone here gay? You're gay. Very good, very good. Do we have any bisexuals? So is everyone out? Are you all out? Do we have any closet cases here? Because I like to help the young gay people. Do we have anyone want to admit it right now? I know you. You're not out. You're a hoe. Who? By a show of hands, how many of you have televisions? You have a pretty good. Okay, and how many of you have the Here Network? Okay, we've got some work to do. So I've been masturbating for 25 years. Who else is warming up someone's genitals right now? Are you enjoying the sweat? Are you guys? Yeah, I could tell something. You were all looking at me like, that's a lot of sweat.
I was like, do you have weed in weed form? Is that even a thing? I mean, I wasn't in college that long ago. Like a bag of swag, that would be fine. Swag? Swag, is that a word?
There really should be an empirical study into how and why so many modern conservative influencers are all failed comedians or entertainers of some kind. You got Steven Crowder, who used to call himself a comedian, hilariously. Michael Knowles, who once fancied himself an actor, even playing the role of a gay man in a short film he made 1,000,000 years ago before becoming a homophobe. And of course, Ben Shapiro, who tried so desperately to become a screenwriter once upon a time ago. A dream he is seemingly reluctant to abandon, considering the multi-million-dollar Game of Thrones ripoff that Daily Wire shot out last year. For whatever reason, so many of these guys only became a mouthpiece for the Republican Party after first failing miserably to make it big in Hollywood. And Dave Rubin is yet another prime example. He ditched a career in traditional entertainment to be wrong about politics for a living.
So allow me to make a prediction here, and my prediction stuff, I'm not Polly Market, I'm not Call Sheet, but I'm pretty good at predictions. And my prediction here is that everything that the media is now going to say about Iran's going to close the Strait of Hormuz and energy prices are going to go crazy and all these, none of this is going to come to pass. Their military has basically been decimated. So they can keep doing PR stunts and having the second general of the 4th Command of the 3rd Wing of the Iranian army show up on MSNBC. They can keep do that and make his threats and say, we're going to let things through if we like you and not if we don't. But it just is utterly irrelevant. We are the sheriff.
He learned over time that he possesses none of the skills or talents necessary to stand on his own 2 feet in the regular entertainment world, so he retreated into the loving embrace of the billionaire conservative ideologues he serves, even if it means being routinely treated without dignity by bigots who, if they had it their way, would strip him of his rights in an instant.
It's around a liberal. A liberal homosexual says, well, you should accept my lifestyle. But if you say, well, I accept your lifestyle, I just don't want my kid to be one. Well, you're a bit. Well, wait a minute. I accept the fact that you want to be homeless. I don't want my kid to be homeless. I accept the fact that you want to smoke crack. I don't want my kid to smoke crack. I have 2 daughters. I don't want them dating someone who's poverty stricken. What does that make me? I don't understand that we can't even have a preference anymore.
Even said they hate Dave Rubin because he's a gay man with the wrong opinion. Dave Rubin is gay? No! He got a husband? I did not know. I was in his presence. I didn't know. I shook his hand. I sat down with him. Why did y'all tell me before I went on his show? Oh, Steven, why would you send me this? Oh my God, Stevie, you've ruined my day.
And now it seems Dave has run into some more troubles. Despite having over 3.2 million subscribers on YouTube, there are videos on Dave's channel that don't even have 10,000 views. Our man needs a shot in the arm. He's desperate. And out of that desperation came his decision to go on Jubilee's 20 versus 1. Now, I have my own issues with Jubilee. I don't always believe the topics they cover are handled with the most, let's just say grace and tact, but I will still watch when someone Someone Interesting is on. I thought the Sam Cedar debate was educational, and the Mehdi Hassan episode is a perfect encapsulation of just how dark and demented the modern right has become.
But you don't condemn Nazi persecution of the Jews?
I think that there was a little bit of persecution and
We
stuff
may
like
have
that,
to
which is
rename
bad.
this show because you're a little bit more than a far-right Republican.
Hey, what can I say?
I think you can say I'm a fascist.
Yeah, I am.
So of course, I wasn't about to miss this one. Predictably, Dave's first claim is that wokeism did more damage to America than Donald Trump. Now, he doesn't actually define wokeism in this prompt, so he's immediately questioned on what he means when he uses such a phrase. Which makes sense. I mean, you can't really have an honest dialogue without first being on the same page about some basic definitions, but even when pressed to answer, Dave still struggles to speak in concrete, definitive terms.
So I think the simplest way to define wokeism is basically collectivism on steroids, and usually as it applies to race and gender, meaning that you should be judged based on the color, you actually should be judged based on the color of your skin and your sexuality and your gender and a whole bunch of immutable characteristics.
Are you not noticing just how much of a blanket term wokeism really is? Everybody has their own meaning of what constitutes as woke, that is just such a silly and pointless way of characterizing anything. Dave then shows off his lack of a functioning brainstem by mindlessly repeating the tired talking point that the United States prevented Iran from getting a nuclear weapon. A talking point that has long been discredited by, Trump's own National Intelligence Director, Tulsi Gabbard, and what she said to Congress last year when he bombed Iran the first time, that the IRGC had not been building a nuclear weapon, and that in fact there was no evidence to suggest they were even reauthorizing their nuclear weapons program. An inconvenient truth that Dave finds himself confronted with immediately.
Tulsi Gabbard, our Director of National Intelligence, testified in front of Congress last year, and according to the entire intelligence community, Iran did not have a nuclear weapons program.
Okay, that they didn't have a nuclear weapons
Yes.
program. They were enriching past the point that they were allowed to for civilian use. Everyone knows that. We're now in an economic embargo of them, right? We've basically done a blockade of the Strait of Hormuz.
I'm sorry, we instituted the blockade? Then why are we even working on a deal with it at all then? If it's the US keeping the Strait of Hormuz closed, shouldn't we just be able to open it? Oh wait, we can't do that because we don't actually control the strait, and the arbitrary blockade we did issue came after Iran had already shut the strait down. This is just the art of the deal, baby. Far be it from us to question the wisdom of this calm, cool, and collected military mastermind.
Your elections are crooked, and you're crooked, and Meet the Press is crooked, and so is ABC, and CBS, and CNN.
But Mr. President,
You're one-sided crooked networks. All right, let's call it quits, because I've had enough. Thank you, darling. Have a good time.
Mr. President, let's please. I traveled all the way to Wisconsin.
I've sat in the rain.
I know. I
I've sat in the
traveled
rain
all the
with
way
you
to
for an hour,
Wisconsin.
on and off in the rain, and I've given you enough time. You ought to straighten out your press, because you know what?
Mr.
A
President,
country can never be great with a dishonest
Listen,
press.
we
Come on,
traveled all the way to Wisconsin for this interview.
And then Dave utters perhaps one of the most revealing statements of this entire interaction.
Well, things happen in war, right?
yeah,
Things, yeah.
Things happen in war, Dave? By things, you couldn't possibly be referring to the thousands of civilians that have been needlessly wiped out and the almost 200 school children that were killed in their own school, could you?
We did lose 13 of our soldiers, and that is
And killed over
terrible.
200 children.
Well, things happen in war, right?
Okay, it's a strange hill for a classical liberal to die on, I think.
Let me ask you something. Do you think the Iranian regime, before this war, the Iranian regime that has oppressed the people of Iran for 40 years, do you think that was a good regime?
I hate this kind of stupid-ass framing. The treatment of the Iranian people at the hand of their government is hardly relevant to the discussion of whether we should go over there and bomb their houses and schools. We don't get to blow up their bridges because their government is repressive and undemocratic. I just don't think that's how foreign affairs should be handled, but apparently we're the crazy ones for thinking such a thing.
There's about 52 or 53 Muslim countries. In any of those countries, how's it going for minorities, boys, women, gays, Christians, Jews.
Oh my God, is that the reason we went to war with them, Dave? Tell me that with a straight face, please. Because if that's the case, then I'm not sure why we haven't sent ground troops into Saudi Arabia or Israel yet. A country that, as Dave says later on, is actually a great and wonderful place for gay people to live.
Israel is the one place in the Middle East that you could go and you would be celebrated.
I couldn't get married there.
That's actually the truth. Well, yes, they are not perfect.
They're not perfect. Man, I love watching him retreat immediately. The topic of LGBTQ rights is a recurring one throughout this debate, with Dave first trying to make the case that the Trump administration and Republicans at large are actually a lot more accepting than you think.
What I like about MAGA actually is that it's not a specific set of you have to believe this exact set, right? You have to believe these exact
some people in MAGA can
things.
believe like gay couples can have kids, and others can believe like that's degeneracy and those people need to be jailed.
Well,
those are like the difference of ideas.
Well, actually, the tough answer to that is yes. As for the most part, people on the right actually believe in individual rights and don't really care.
Yeah, man, totally. You wonder what he'd say to a tweet Tennessee Representative Andy Ogles made the other day, where he said point blank that homosexuality has no place in America. Happy Nuclear Family Month. Pretty sure that kind of vile homophobia only comes from the right, even though Ogles was so much of a pushover that he wound up deleting the tweet and blaming it on some anonymous staffer that has yet to be revealed. That's your side, Dave. Andy Ogles is just as big a fan of Donald Trump as you seem to be. But that's okay. You can just agree to disagree, right?
Michael Knowles, as a human being, has been to my house, and my husband has cooked him lamb, and we have enjoyed evenings together and shared personal moments and all of those things. Now, do we agree on absolutely everything? Of course the answer to that is no.
Yeah, it's one thing to disagree with your friend on something trivial, what pizza toppings you prefer, what's your favorite animal, what's the ugliest car you've ever seen, and why is it a green Kia Soul? Oh my God, those things are hideous. But it's another thing to disagree on something as basic and fundamental to our existence as human rights. There are some things in this life you probably shouldn't overlook to maintain a friendship, Dave. But again, this is how he makes a living. He has to constantly surround himself with people who hate his lifestyle and think it's disgusting, because to him, that's the easiest way to pull in millions of dollars. And those millions of dollars will always be worth it, even if it means defending illegal orders sent down by the president.
Do you think it's authoritarian for the president of the United States to call for the death of 6 active members of the legislature for making a video that is totally fine and legal?
It's interesting. Oh, well, first off, you're talking about the video where they basically, Mark Kelly and several of these guys were basically saying if you're in the military, you can go against, Trump and all those things.
Wait, going against Trump? In the video you're talking about, Senator Mark Kelly and others told the military that they don't have an obligation to obey illegal orders, which should honestly be the least controversial message of all time. Of course, you shouldn't obey in order to break the law. They didn't say to go against Trump, Dave, unless you're trying to imply here that Donald Trump is prone to giving illegal orders, and surely that's not what you're saying. After getting sufficiently packed up by a number of people sitting around that circle, including my Oomphy Mason, shout out to him, Dave moves on to his second, very intelligent, very coherent claim, that by voting for Democrats, you're voting for broken cities, broken schools, and broken borders.
We should have school choice. We should have charter schools. We should have public schools. We should have private schools. You shouldn't necessarily be stuck in a failing school just because of your zip code. We have
Private
a huge
and charter
homeschool
schools
boom.
are not more inclusive. Do you know what the average cost of
Well, I didn't say
schools?
I didn't say anything about inclusive.
You said you don't want people to get stuck. I think having public schools is the best way to get the most amount of people, and if we make public education good and we actually put resources into
that's
it.
a hell of a caveat.
I know, but where do you think the funding goes with school choice? It comes from public education to go to private and charter schools.
Right, so I would have as many charter schools as possible, as many private schools as possible. I would encourage homeschooling.
So you want to
I would encourage
eliminate public schooling?
I think actually you could. Over time, I think you could, but I'm not calling for that today.
Does Dave just not hear what he's saying? He argues that making public schools good would be a very difficult thing to do, and that it's one hell of a caveat, while simultaneously pushing for school choice, a policy that he admits siphons money away from public schools. How can you possibly expect public schools then to get better when you continue to throw vouchers at private institutions? Maybe if we just got rid of vouchers altogether and put that money back into public schools, those schools would be able to provide a better quality education. Crazy concept, I know.
What is one main metric that Donald Trump has made better off since he got in office? Like an example would be GDP, unemployment, inflation, etc.
Well, right now, first off, the big beautiful bill was just passed last year and it's kicking in now, right? It's kicking in now. Okay, so we're going to now see results of that, like even the tariffs. All right, so let's do tariffs. Are you for or against tariffs?
Against the universal tariff. So what's the main metric that he made better off?
What?
What's the main metric that he made better off? GDP, unemployment, inflation? Do you have any idea?
Listen.
I don't think you do.
Do you think? Hold on. So.
I didn't know you could show out and about murders on YouTube. My God. What's amazing is that Dave's opponent actually has specific examples to defend Biden's presidency, very much underscoring the glaring disparity in preparedness here.
You're arguing that things economically were better under Joe Biden.
At the end of his administration, absolutely. Yeah. GDP growth was better off. Real median wage growth was better off. Inflation was better off at the end of his administration. Unemployment was better off at the end of his administration. We had the worst year of job growth in the past 4 years, just this last year under Trump's administration. The inflation, 3.8% year over year since Trump got in office. We're seeing all of those economic indicators become worse off. Can you tell me anything that he's done to make it better off? You say it's broken for Democrats. It sounds like it's broken right now under Trump.
Have you looked at the stock market?
The Dow is over 50,000.
He then moves on to lauding the success of the stock market, as if the stock market is a super telling reflection of how well the American public is doing financially. I don't know if you knew this, Dave, considering you are a multi-millionaire recipient of Russian funds.
I don't know if you know this, but Dave took $400,000 per month from a Russian information operation. And so you'd understand why.
And what was the name of the show that I did for the Russians? Tell me that.
Right now is just handing things over to the Russians. That he has to pretend to be outraged about things. You know, just you don't know who's paying the bill.
What was the name of the show I did for the Russians, champ?
You weren't commentator one in that indictment there, Dave? That wasn't you?
Yeah, I was commentator one. It was nice to read something honest about me.
But the average American doesn't exactly have 400,000 rubles lying around to shove into the Dow Jones. They're struggling to put food on the table. But with the rising price of groceries and all, they've got to work multiple jobs, if they're even fortunate enough to find a job, that is. And to get to those jobs, they've got to shell out 40% more of what they were paying last year for gas. All because your warlord of a president just had to bomb a school full of children. You'll make excuses for all of this, just like you said the Iran war would be over soon, and yet you'll still erroneously call yourself a fucking liberal because you're a joke and a hack. Do you now see why people don't respect you, Dave? Then Mason comes back to own him some more, going after his Russian ties, so to speak, talking about the scandal from 2024 in which Dave, along with his several other charlatan friends, were named in a federal lawsuit that alleged they had taken dark money from the Kremlin to parrot pro-Russia talking points on their respective broadcasts. Mason gives Dave the benefit of the doubt by assuming Dave had no idea where the money came from, which I'm sure was the case, let's be real, and that he hadn't actually been reading pro-Russia talking points from their government verbatim. Mason argues that even if that were all the case, the fact remains that Russia saw Dave as a useful enough idiot whose ideology helped their interests enough to warrant such massive funding, a concept that Dave seems a little too dense to grasp.
I'm not saying you did a show for Russia. I'm saying Russia saw you as a stooge who could easily say the talking points that benefited them.
But do you understand? They gave me no talking points. I did a show. It was a
point. Yes, you dumbass. That's the point. You don't need talking points directly from the government. Your own talking points will serve them just fine. I'm losing my mind, dude. Come on.
They just gave you money because they're altruistic?
No, buddy.
They're just like, we're thinking of giving it to Dave.
No, because... No, well, first off, so just to be clear, you have literally no idea what you're talking about. You don't know the name of the show. You don't know the name of the show that I did. You don't know the name of the show.
Does he have to? The name of the show changes none of the dynamics here, Dave. Sounds like we've been missing out on some riveting content, though.
My team, 5 minutes before we go live, will pick viral videos. You know, woman throws hamburger at somebody at Wendy's, and I'll respond to it. That's what we did.
Reacting to a Wendy's burger. All right, well, I'm starting to see why the views might be slipping a little. Kind of reminds me of Ben Shapiro's desperate attempts to relate to the youth by playing Fortnite in between Shopify ads.
So let's push X. Okay. Choose him. Now push circle. Perfect. Now we'll push this button here 2 times. Yep, 1, 2.
Shopify powers millions of businesses around the world.
Dave is confronted by the uncomfortable truth that progressive policies, by and large, are actually quite popular throughout this country and have been for a while. He dismisses this fact by insisting young people are simply confused and uneducated, that they don't know what they want at all.
Young voters are becoming much
more progressive than they ever were.
Yeah.
Why? Because again, most people
Well,
want
I
the
agree. I
universal
agree with
healthcare.
that. That a lot of young people are very confused about what America
Oh,
is
they're
and what
confused
freedom
about what
is.
they want?
Yeah, they are.
Well, I'm so glad we got the wise sage Dave Rubin here to tell us what's actually best for us then. Thanks, Dave.
So how much of Elon Musk's money would you like to take from him to do what?
I would
Tell me.
actually like
Yeah.
for billionaires and the
Yeah.
rich in general to
Yeah.
pay the same amount that they were paying back in the 1950s.
Okay, so that's a rather radical position if you want.
In the
if you-
1950s?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, that was certainly a radical move to tax billionaires in the 1950s. We all remember the pinko radical presidency of Dwight D. Eisenhower. Oh, I shudder just at the mere mention of his name. I also don't really care what you call it, by the way. It's radical to want Elon Musk to cough up more taxes? Okay. The guy is worth $800 billion. I think he'd be fine. If it were up to me, he'd be taxed out of existence just for being so unbearably cringe and for asking to go to Epstein's Island. Yeah, that was pretty bad.
You know what happens when rich people have more of their money? They hire more people. They
That is
invest in more
factually
things.
so untrue. It is crazy. And that's what I'm saying.
Oh, hell yeah. Trickle-down economics, baby. Trust me, bro. The money will trickle down this time, okay? We just gotta wait a few more years. Or decades. Or another half a century, maybe. I know it hasn't trickled down yet, but it's coming, okay? It's gonna be trickling in no time. Dave's final claim is that the modern left cares more about ideology than reality. A phrase just about as stupid and meaningless as Dave Rubin's career.
Now, did Donald Trump lose the 2020 election?
I don't know.
You don't know.
No, I know.
You don't know? Okay, well, I respect your commitment to look like such an unabashed moron in front of so many people, I guess. That does take some courage. He then goes on to double down on his idiocy by claiming it's a fact that the COVID vaccine didn't work. His reasoning is that, yeah, actually, people still got COVID after getting the vaccine. Like that's some kind of winning argument against anyone with an IQ above that of a dog.
Also, the COVID vaccines didn't work. I mean, that's a fact.
That is not
That
a
is
fact.
a fact.
That isn't.
If you got a COVID vaccine, could you get COVID?
If
you got a COVID, yes. Oh, you could. So it was,
the claim
and
was
could you
never,
transmit it?
Yes,
Joe
the claim
Biden.
was never that transmission was at 0%.
I mean, he's just willfully missing the point of what vaccines do. Even with the flu shot, you can still get the flu, man. It's just that your symptoms will be a lot milder and you'll be able to get over it faster. God, I miss the days when vaccine skepticism was still treated as the discredited schlock it's always been. I've recommended it before, but H-Bomber Guy has an incredible video essay on the history of the anti-vax movement and how it was always an intentionally misleading scam from the very beginning. I'd highly suggest you check it out if you are in any way entertaining the kind of bullshit Dave is trying to sell here. Knowing that he was once somewhat on the left, or at least he claimed to be, stuff like this makes me genuinely wonder if Dave actually believes the garbage he's spewing. Or is he actually so brain broken now as to seriously doubt the legitimacy of critical, life-saving medicine? The world may never know for sure, but it's embarrassing either way. He goes on a tangent about one of his unnamed friends who supposedly developed myocarditis after getting the vaccine without actually citing any correlation between that and the vaccine, probably on account of there being none.
I know a young guy who's in his early 20s who never had any health. Wait. Who had never had any health problems. Young, healthy guy in his early 20s who had to get the COVID vaccine to go to college, and he now has myocarditis.
Okay.
Does that interest you at all?
No, you idiot, it doesn't. It shouldn't interest you or anyone else either. Where's the correlation, Dave? Tell me. But he doesn't tell us. And before his opponent has a chance to really poke holes in what he's saying, Dave conveniently pivots to something else.
Anecdotes aren't a good tool to use when assessing scientific research.
So you think the government should have been allowed to force people to get a vaccine?
Okay,
that
so now
was
we're
rushed.
pivoting. We're pivoting.
That was
We're
rushed
pivoting.
through
We're
by.
pivoting.
I'm sorry, but are you guys no longer the facts don't care about your feelings crowd? Are personal anecdotes about your friends who may or may not even exist just supposed to substitute actual scientific research? Almost sounds like you care more about ideology than reality there, Dave. Speaking of which, Dave continues to completely ignore reality by making the hilariously and horribly false claim that the genocide in Gaza, he calls it a war, is totally over now thanks to the wonderful ceasefire brought along by our big, beautiful president. I guess Dave hasn't seen the countless reports coming out on a regular basis proving that Israel has in fact never ceased its attacks on the Palestinians. He just straight up says there's no bombings happening in Gaza, which is a flat out lie, one tantamount to genocide denial.
You're saying there are hostages in Gaza right now and the war is continuing?
The
right
conflict has continued, yes.
Yeah.
There have continued to be bombs. And moving
they're
on.
bombing Gaza right now, that's what you're telling me?
Yes,
Yes.
Yeah, that's not true.
I mean, I know you get your news from Grok, but like...
It either speaks to his ignorance, that despite literally being a professional political commentator, Dave just hasn't been privy to the reporting and he's just missed those headlines, or it reveals his depravity. Dave's ability to overlook the terrorist state of Israel's constant assault on the people of Gaza, which shouldn't be surprising. I mean, he has previously denied the countless reports of starvation in Gaza too, continuing to do PR for a country that is, in his mind, a wonderful place for gays, lesbians, and trans people.
But you would be treated equally and with respect, and they have the biggest LGBT pride parade. It's coming up in 2 weeks. You should probably go. You might find it quite interesting. Anyway, as far as the claim...
Well, would you be treated with respect if you were Arab? Or would you be stopped at various checkpoints and barred from driving down certain roads and kept from voting because Israel is an apartheid state, currently in the midst of carrying out a genocide? Oh, but they have pride parades sometimes, so I guess that evens it out, right? The conversation circles back around to LGBTQ issues a little later on, but not before Dave touches on immigration, where he tries to excuse the deportation of a child with cancer.
We deported a 4-year-old kid with lung cancer. We deported a 10-year-old kid
You're talking about because the father,
brain cancer.
If you're talking about because the father was...
They deported a 10-year-old kid with brain cancer.
But you're talking about because the father was illegal and they didn't want to break up the family.
Why are you deporting an American citizen?
Because they were deporting the father.
Why are you deporting...
The
reality is that the kid is an American citizen.
I love that Dave tries to weasel out of this one by putting the blame on the father. Oh, the father just chose to take his son with him. Yeah, okay, but what about the evil-ass government that forced him into that position by not offering a more viable alternative or a path to citizenship, dare I say? His child is already battling cancer. Now you want him to choose between leaving that child behind or leaving the country together with no clue as to what the future might hold for the two of them? Would the more humane option not be a path to citizenship? Or am I just being unrealistic because I have no idea how the world works? This kid makes a pretty good point about Charlie Kirk's death being used by those on the right and in the Trump administration to attack and blame the left, to which Dave has no other response than to just blurt out how much he hates the person sitting across from him.
When Charlie Kirk was murdered, hours before there was even a suspect in custody, Donald Trump blamed half of the electorate. Nancy Mace said the Democrats own this. The Republican Party, MAGA, uses death as a cudgel to justify the unjustifiable, and that is denying reality. That's making reality whatever you want it to be, and people like you are corrupted enough to spew it all over social media.
Wow.
Yeah.
I'll respond. Out of all the people, I have to say you're the worst, like by far.
What we are watching is a broken man. I'd almost feel bad if Dave weren't such a massive asshole, but he's clearly tired and wants to go home. He has to know how bad this looks for him. At this point, he can't even muster up a good enough rebuttal and has to resort to shitting on this kid as being the worst person in the circle, I guess. Just incredible. Though it is a great compliment coming from Dave Rubin, one that I'm sure this kid is reveling in.
I have to say, first off, I thoroughly enjoyed this, believe it or not.
Oh, yeah, you did you, Dave? Because that's not exactly what you were saying a few days after this video went live.
And I honestly believe several of them would have killed me if given the opportunity, truly. And you all know my guy Joey, who works for me, and he said to me after, he said, Dave, I made a choice halfway through that if one of them was going to attack you, I was going to get involved. Because that's the level of tension. Like, I could feel the daggers coming at me. The ones that, mostly they had horrible scowls on their faces, but the ones that smiled at me actually seemed like the most dangerous because they were like Joker smiles.
And the weird Joker smiles, it was so distracting and so unpleasant. You can't have discourse. I don't know how you pulled it off.
You know, truly, to sit around 20 people that have nothing but hatred for you. Like, there wasn't even I tried my best. I kind of didn't want to do it because I've just been through enough versions of the internet and dealt with the hate and the whatever. My team really wanted me to do it. I was like, you know what? I'll do it, whatever. It's not a big deal. I tried to say, I'll show you a little respect to start this thing. They offered nothing. For 2 hours and 55 minutes, I think I did a very nice job.
He's talking like he just survived a near-death experience. Like he was surrounded by 20 trained assassins just itching to knock him off or something. It's insane. Get the fuck over yourself. We watched a lot of the video here. You could go watch the full video right after this and see that Dave's life was in no way in any danger whatsoever. Dave is such a sad, stupid, weak little man that I can barely stomach any more of this. Thankfully though, for the sake of my sanity and yours, we're almost done. The final claim of this video is one that Dave must respond to, and this member of the circle chose that trans rights are human rights as her claim, which gets Dave to talk more about his sexuality.
I grew up in a time when there was no gay marriage, and when I was a kid, for however confused I was or anything else, there was I never thought about the future because it wasn't even a thing. Like, there was literally no future. And then magic happened over time, and we got equal rights.
Oh, right. Yep. Yep. That is a super accurate recollection of what happened. Gay people just magically wound up with equal rights. They didn't have to fight tooth and nail for it, didn't have to be called pedophiles and sexual deviants in the process, or literally die just to get the same rights as everyone else. Rights were just sort of given to gay people because it, we ball.
I'm friends with Blair White.
Oh, God. Well, that says it all, doesn't it? Side note, but I can't stand that he repeatedly prefaces himself with, well, if this trans person treats me with respect, then I guess I'll treat them with respect by using their preferred pronouns and recognizing their identity.
I treat anyone that treats me with respect, you're going to get respect out of me. So I appreciate that, and I'm glad to hear it. I believe that Blair was biologically a male and believes that she, and I will call her she because she treats me with respect and I'll treat her with respect.
As if recognizing someone's identity is conditional. To try and act like it's a privilege to have your humanity recognized is such a gross and weird concept that I'll never be able to understand. Before wrapping up, Dave tries to argue that laws don't offer people protection, which I have no idea how to respond to. Honestly, that's just insane.
The law can guarantee equality. It can't guarantee protection, right? So
yes, it certainly can.
So what would you like the law to do?
Dave may be willing to treat certain trans people with respect, but what about his friend and colleague Michael Knowles, who certainly isn't as willing?
Your friend Michael Knowles at CPAC said that we need to eradicate transgenderism in society. That is a direct threat to me, my neighbors, my friends, and family.
Okay. Trying to get out of what is definitely an awkward moment for him, Dave finally breaks down and says that if his good friend Michael Knowles ever wound up pushing for direct legislation to go after the rights of trans people, Dave Rubin will be there, front and center, leading the charge against his friend and standing alongside the trans community.
I promise you this, if Michael Knowles or anyone else starts pushing for legislation that will jail you or stop you from getting a job or any of the other freedoms that we all enjoy, I promise you I will be on your side of that. So
well, I can't wait to be on your show soon.
All right, then there we go.
That's a very sweet sentiment, Dave, but I do find it a little hard to believe, considering you can't exactly stand up for yourself or your husband in the face of someone like Ben Shapiro saying your lifestyle is essentially too demonic and wrong for him to support.
Can I make a bold prediction?
Sure.
30 years from now, we're going to be sitting here doing this, hopefully in a bigger garage, maybe.
In Texas, probably,
and you may well have moved me on the abortion issue, and I think I may have moved you on coming to an anniversary party. What do you think about that?
I think there's a possibility. I think it would be unlikely that you'd move me, but I can never rule out the possibility of being moved on anything, obviously. And again, this comes back down to, you know, the difference between approving of activity and approving of human beings.
So, you know, forgive me if I don't expect to see you fighting on the front lines for trans people. But I think that's pretty much it for this one. Wound up being a pretty long video, I know, just because there was so much for me to get into. I could have said more, but we would have been here all day, I think. Go check out the original video down below if you want to die from cringe, and that's about all I got. All right, bye.